So here's where we are in the story. Jesus, God's Son, had come to show people what God is really like: good, powerful, and kind. One day, early in the morning, Jesus arrived at the temple. That was where crowds of people came to worship God. There were also religious experts and teachers of the law. Jesus saw the people, sat down, and began to teach them. Jesus taught that we love God best when we love other people as we love ourselves, especially people who are hurting, ignored, or poor. That we should not judge others, or else God will judge us. And that we all need God's rescue from our sins. Jesus was about to put his words into action. While Jesus was teaching, the religious experts put a woman right in front of him. They told Jesus the woman had been caught with a man doing something neither of them should have been doing. The law said as punishment, the crowd would surround the woman on all sides, pick up heavy rocks, and throw them at her until she died. Then they said to Jesus, "What do you say we should do?" Jesus looked at the woman. He probably saw how alone and vulnerable she was, even though she wasn't the only one who had done something wrong. But the man she was with wasn't there. Jesus also knew the religious experts were trying to use this woman to trap him. If he didn't agree with them, the religious leaders could accuse Jesus of not defending God's law. But if he didn't defend the woman, the crowd would stone her. Well, Jesus did something no one expected. Instead of joining the crowd, he knelt down next to the woman. And instead of pointing his finger at her too, he started writing in the dirt. And when the rest of the crowd went on accusing her, Jesus stood up for her. Jesus faced the crowd and said, "Is there anyone here who has never sinned? Whoever is without sin can throw the first stone at this woman." And Jesus knelt back down and kept writing in the dirt. No one could argue with what Jesus had said. Every person there that day, from the religious experts to the woman being accused, every single one of them had sinned. They had failed to love God and love other people. But even though they had all broken God's laws in some way, they all needed forgiveness. They were judging someone else. One by one, the crowd left. The old and the young, the rich and the poor, the powerful and the weak. At last, they were alone. The woman was standing before him. Jesus stood up and said, "Woman, all of those people have gone. Has no one judged you guilty?" She said, "No one has judged me, sir." Then Jesus said, "So I also don't judge you. Go and sin no more." See, Jesus knew he's the only one who can judge others, because Jesus is the only person who never sinned. Still, Jesus knew the time was coming when the same religious leaders would try to trap him again. And like the woman, Jesus would be captured, accused, and judged in front of a crowd. And the same crowd who almost put her to death would demand he be put to death. But Jesus wouldn't stay dead. In the ultimate act of forgiveness and love, Jesus would come back to life. And I can't wait for you to hear that story.